This week on Fan Sharp Focused, we're focused on the Tennessee Titans as they're off to a great start, and they've lost their last two games. We have Zach Zook joining us to talk all things Tennessee Titans. Zach, let's talk about these Titans. Lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was the battle of the unbeatens. They tried to make a late comeback, didn't work out. They lose now to the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that had them on the ropes the entire game. They made sort of a late comeback late, but still lost by 11. They are now 0-2 in their last two games. What have you seen from the Titans after that great start to the season and now dropping two straight?
Yeah, they've had a tough little skid here against a couple of tough AFC North foes, I think. Certainly there's no shame in losing to the Steelers. I know it's a game at home. You probably would have liked to have it, but they dug themselves a pretty substantial hole early. And as the Steelers, I think, have shown, they have one of the best defenses in the AFC. Derrick Henry was not able to get going for the first three quarters of that game. And then I think the warts of their defense showed in the Cincinnati game. They lose that one 31-20, and Joe Burrow kind of threw it all over the yard on them. So we've talked about this defense. We talked about it a little bit last week. They do have to get better. I am not pressing the panic button on the Tennessee Titans yet. They have a game against the Chicago Bears, then the Colts. I think those are two very winnable games on their schedule with offenses that aren't really that explosive. So I do trust that Vrabel's team is going to get better. I acknowledge that they haven't been as good. They certainly need to make improvements, but I am not, out on this team at all. I think that the only team I'd feel really uncomfortable about them playing in the AFC come playoff time would be the Chiefs. I just don't think they have the horses to really match up with Kansas City. But any other team, I really feel good about. I mean, I really do think that they're built to win in January. If Ryan Tannehill's playing well and the defense is playing okay, they have a puncher's chance against really any team. So I do trust that Vrabel's team is going to make the improvements. And the loss on Sunday, as disappointing as it may be against the Bengals, is just one that you're going to have to live with over the course of a 16-game season. Let's give the Bengals a little bit of credit too, TJ. I mean, the Bengals were kind of the laughingstock of the NFL last year, but with Joe Burrow, this is an ascending team that I think is going to make some noise in coming years. So it's not as though they lost to the New York Jets, for example. So I'm not worried about the Titans. Disappointing defeat for sure. Tough last couple of weeks, but I think they have some games coming up on the schedule in which they can rectify a lot of wrongs.
And honestly, one of those games could be Chicago coming up this Sunday at noon. What do you see out of that game? It seems like the Bears, everybody talked about how they were the weakest 5-1 team. They kind of showed their true colors against the Saints. Now, did have a chance to win the game. They did cover, but still there's something missing there. It's just they really don't have their quarterback. Nick Foles is not what he was with Philly, and there's just something there. So do you expect Tennessee Titans to bounce back here on Sunday against the Bears?
Yeah, I do. I mean, if ever there was a game to get your defense right, it's against the Chicago Bears. If anybody watched that game against the Saints, you could tell that the Chicago Bears offense is in complete shambles right now. They have no run game to speak of. They are waffling between two quarterbacks. You know the old saying, when you have two quarterbacks, you really have none. And so some people are calling for Mitch to get put back in. Nick Foles is not playing very well right now at all. The receivers are frustrated. Allen Robinson had to go take a little 5-minute timeout on the sideline away from the offense after a drive. They have, people on the offense starting fights with the opposing defense. So it is not a teaching tape at all going on in Chicago on offense right now. So I do think that Tennessee can bounce back defensively. The question is going to be, it's strength on strength. The Chicago Bears have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So are the Tennessee Titans going to be able to, A, run the football? And then if that gets stuffed like it did in the Pittsburgh game, do they have a second pitch? Can they go to A.J. Brown and Corey Davis in the pass game, who's really heated up? Can Ryan Tannehill beat the Chicago Bears if the game falls on his shoulders? That's what I think will determine the outcome of this game. But I do think the Tennessee Titans are a better football team than Chicago, and I expect them to rebound with a win here at home.
Tennessee opened up as a 6.5-point favorite. We'll see where that line ends up on Sunday. Zach, thanks so much, man. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, TJ.
And don't forget, if you'd like to bet legally in Indiana, Illinois, or Iowa, be sure to check out fansharp.com and look for your deposit bonus with promo code FORT. Fansharp. Root like a fan. Bet like a sharp.